for joining us for our ribbon cutting ceremony as we dedicate this part of our Arch Creek East Bike Path project. Of course, we're here with the replacement pedestrian bridges. We're here in front of Bridge 1, and we're happy to be here today to celebrate the completion of this project. There were several agencies involved to make this happen. At this time, I'd like to recognize our North Miami City Council members that are here with us today. We have Councilman Scott Galvin, Councilwoman Carol Keyes. I know Mayor Joseph is in Washington, D.C., so he could not make it here today, and our Councilwoman Sterrell is also traveling, as well as Vice Mayor Bieneme could not make it today. We have our guest, Miami-Dade County Commissioner Sally Heyman, always a supporter of our projects. We have our Deputy City Manager, Dr. Luman Claude. And of course, our agencies that made this project happen. We have Brent Huffman from Ebsary Foundation Company. I'm not sure if Barbara Espino Perez or Raul Alexis made it from the Florida Department of Transportation as yet. They will be joining us. Corianne Salas from Keith and Schnars, not as yet. And David Romano from RJ Behar Company. David's here. And representing our Community Planning and Development Department, Tanya Wilson-Sejour is our manager. She could not make it today, but Brittany Duria is here and she will give us a project overview at the ceremony this morning. And thank you to our majors, Major Cardona, Major Francia Burden. Bria Burden is here supporting us as well. At this time, I would like to call upon Councilman Scott Galvin to give welcome remarks for this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. This is an incredibly unique moment. Looking at the families going by with the kids and the dogs. Almost a decade ago, when the city of North Miami discovered that we owned all of this land, something incredibly special happened. Most city councils at that moment would have sold this land, would have turned it into condos, would have given it to a developer, would have continued the urban sprawl that marks so much of South Florida. But North Miami didn't do that. The North Miami City Council, thanks to groups like the Arch Creek East Neighborhood Association, instead decided to turn these 13 acres of bayfront land into a preserve, an environmental preserve in perpetuity, forever. Instead of turning it into a development, we instead decided to return it to nature. Thanks to the leadership of Commissioner Heyman, the Miami-Dade Commission then gave us this road that we're sitting on, and we then put that into the preserve. So you have the Arch Creek East Environmental Preserve here, and the Oleta River State Park right here. Returning it to nature, turning it into a park for people to enjoy. And as you see, people are running and jogging by us this morning, and that makes these bridges so much more of an improvement. The old bridges are going to come out, but the new bridges just provide that much more of an aesthetic for people to enjoy as they're jogging, as they're biking, as they're running. It turns it into more of a community destination, a place for people to come and enjoy. So we're so thankful to all the groups this morning who provided their technical expertise to make the footbridges happen. We're so thankful to Tanya Sejour, who can't be here today, but her department really worked hard to secure the grant monies that made these bridges happen. We're so thankful to all the neighborhood participants who come together all the time to continue to keep this area strong. Thank you to the Arch Creek East Neighborhood Association. Thank you to the Urban Paradise Guild, who continues, by the way, if you go back up in there, you'll see mangroves that they've been planting. They volunteer every Tuesday to be out here to plant native plants. We thank all of you who've been coming together to make this area so special. So let's get on with the program with the Arch Creek East neighborhood bridges, and I'll turn, I guess, back over to Pam. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councilman. I'd also like to recognize our budget manager and CRA coordinator, Mr. Arthur Sorgi. He's our money man, so I want to make sure we acknowledge him this morning.
As long as you're called the bag man.
At this time, to give us a project overview of the pedestrian bridge replacement project, I would like to call upon Brittany Doria from the Community Planning and Development Department.
Thank you for everyone who's attending. Unfortunately, Ms. Tanya Wilson-Sidger, the project manager, was unable to attend, but she chose me to represent on her behalf. Just to provide an overview, the Arch Creek Bridge Path is 1.5 miles shared on Northeast 135th Street, east of Biscayne Boulevard, to the FIU Biscayne campus. The path serves in a series of a citywide bicycle linkages to the city's adopted Transportation Master Plan and Comprehensive Plan. The path serves as a bike and pedestrian greenway connecting to the FIU bike path and continues to Olathe State Park, which represents over 10 miles of continuous linkage from Biscayne to Olathe, and it's actually the largest in the southeast coast. Through the comprehensive plan, the city committed to develop mobility strategies that promote pedestrian and transit-oriented environments. As such, the city entered into agreement and secured a grant from the Florida Department of Transportation, or FDOT, which provided for the entire segment of the shared use path. A LAP agreement was finalized between the city and FDOT, and the project spanned over 5 years to complete the design, engineering, permitting, and construction. Due to the complexity and sensitivity of the Arch Creek area, the project needed extensive environmental review from 7 different agencies. Thank you to all the agencies and others that assisted in making the project possible. Keith and Schnars for the design of the bike path and bridges, RJ Behar for CEI assisting with the LAP process, Ebsary Foundation, the contractor, in the construction phase of the bridges, and FDOT for all their timeless efforts. The construction phase was a collaborative effort between the Community Planning and Development and Public Works Department. We want to encourage residents to enjoy the outdoors and look forward to more projects and funding opportunities to implement the city's vision in improving the quality of life to allow people to live, work, and recreate. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. And now we will hear from David Romano of RJ Behar Company. And I'd also like to recognize Corianne Salas from Keith and Schnars. Corianne? Barbara. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. We're really pleased, we're really happy with the turnout of the project. Just to kind of give everybody a brief little overview what our role and what our participation was. We are the CEI company that oversaw, supervised the construction from the beginning through the end, through the what you see now as you sit here. This was an interesting project because it's a local agency program, and for those who aren't familiar with what that is, it's federal funds that are used to fund city projects like this one, and the money comes from the Department of Transportation. We're really excited, very happy at the turnout of the project. While the construction was going on, we had the opportunity to meet lots of people what
are you doing here?
Yeah, that regularly, walk through and bike ride and, walk their pets, and, the students that frequently, use the path. And, we got a lot of, positive feedback, to be honest with you. Everybody was very pleased overall with how how the project was coming out, how it was looking, how it was progressing, and how it finally turned out. So RJ Behar is very pleased to have been part of this process and to have lended support to the city of North Miami. This really was a nice project in the end for all of us. And I want to thank some of the people that from our staff that worked on the project. This couldn't have been possible with Mr. Humberto Soteris. He was our senior inspector and project administrator on the job. Stacy Singh, who couldn't be here today, she was our resident compliance specialist, and she really helped a lot with the paperwork because this project was very paperwork intensive, as many of you know. She really helped to make sure that all the compliance efforts were done, and that the DOT was satisfied with how everything was coming along, and then obviously, pass on that reimbursement over to the city of North Miami. So, it was a pleasure working with the city of North Miami. It was a pleasure working with Brent at Ebsary. I think we had a very nice partnership between all the parties involved. And again, thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you so much for all your assistance with all the construction efforts and the questions that came through during construction, and providing your support as well. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, David. And I know Brittany indicated there were 7 different agencies that needed to permit and approve the project. That included Miami-Dade DERM, Pollution Division Review, Shoreline Development Review, South Florida Water Management, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, our own City of North Miami Building Department, and the U.S. Coast Guard. So all of those agencies had to review each stage of the project. So as you can see, with that amount of governmental involvement, it's really amazing that the project was completed on time and put through, and we're here today. So our hat goes off to Brittany and Tanya and the Community Planning and Development Department for moving that along. At this time, I would like to acknowledge our president of the Arch Creek East Neighborhood Association to speak on behalf of the residents here in Arch Creek East, Ms. Carol Prager.
Good morning. I had hoped that we would have one of those nice, sunny, mild November days, but we got this, and at this age, I'm grateful for any day I get. So, it's wonderful. This was a very long project for us. It began way back in 2007, I believe, when we were discovering that there were departments at county that could supply us with the funds to improve our neighborhood, and that came in the form of a bike path. And we had always, first of all, I moved into this neighborhood in 1985. I raised both of my children here. They learned to ride their bikes on this road. They learned how to rollerblade on this road. And then later, when I was a Cub Scout master, we would come here and camp out, and my Cub Scouts learned about nature. So my neighborhood has been very good to me in my personal life. And when I first moved in here, it was a temporary move. Life is funny, and it ended up being my permanent home, and I can't see myself leaving at this point. A lot of people in this neighborhood are very passionate about Arch Creek East. Scott Galvin resurrected our neighborhood association after it had gone dormant for a number of years, and a group of us were able to build upon what had come before us, and we stood on the giant shoulders of a very little woman by the name of Doris Jacobson. And because of Doris, we learned how to do our job, and we hope every day, I personally hope that I do her proud, because she really had the gold standard when it came to civic activism and taking care of this neighborhood. We have a lot more to do. I want to thank Commissioner Heyman. She was very instrumental in getting this road deeded to the city of North Miami, and when she did that, she gave us a huge shield to protect our neighborhood, and I'm forever grateful to you, Commissioner Heyman, as is the neighborhood. We have another group that came and helped us, the Urban Paradise Guild. Sam Van Leer is without peer. He comes here every week with volunteers. No one pays these people to do this. And they come in here and they take on this mammoth job. And you may not think it looks like they're getting anything done, but it's extraordinary what's already happened here. So we need to support the Urban Paradise Guild so that we can continue doing what we have to do. In closing, I'd like to say this. When I first moved in here and these little canals were here, it was very dirty, muddy water. And I was kind of confused about what this was. It came to learn that these canals were actually dredged to facilitate a tidal flow that would go into what's now known as Biscayne Landing to remediate mangroves that had been basically destroyed by the toxic waste that had been dumped there. I've lived here since 1985, so we're 30 years forward. When I look at these canals now, I can actually see almost to the bottom on a morning sunlight. I can see the fish in there. I can see stingrays. I've seen manatee. And on top of all of this, I see birds. The birds are coming back. And when the birds come back, that's an indication that your environment is becoming healthier. So this is really a beautiful situation we hear. It's still a diamond in the rough. It still needs a lot of support. We need to reach out to the neighbors, not only in Arch Creek East, but throughout North Miami. The people who come here on the weekends, stop and chat with them, tell them what this is about. Tell them to contact Councilman Scott Galvin. He's got an email list that is better than anybody, probably better than the White House. And I do this when I see people. I say, do you live here? And if they say no, do you live in North Miami? Well, yes or no. And I said, well, in any event, do you know Councilman Scott Galvin? And they always say yes. And that's when I encourage them to connect with him so that they can get his newsletter and his emails to alert them about what is going on here, because we need everybody's help. And thank you very much for being here this morning. I hope you continue to support not just the neighborhood and the preserve, but the city of North Miami.
Thank you, Carol. And at this time, I would like to recognize our Councilwoman Carol Keyes, who will deliver our closing remarks as we go into actually the ribbon cutting. Thank you.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. While it's not hot and sunny, it is a gorgeous day. The music of the trees is astounding. You could not pay for that. And this is a beautiful park, preserve. I have personally been coming here since a young child, played here, rode my bike through here, the dirt bikes. This is truly a park and a preserve that we must maintain, and we can't ever let it go to development. It is just too precious. You can never get this back. That being said, I'm hoping that I will see all of you. I like to walk here, ride my bike. Sorry we couldn't do that today. And I would like to bring up my colleague Councilman Galvin to do the ribbon cutting as we close our ceremony. And I want to bring up also Barbara Espino Perez and Raul Alexis from FDOT. Have they gotten here yet? Brent Huffman from Ebsary Foundation Company. Come on up, we're going to do our ribbon cutting. David Romano from RJ Behar and Company. Corian Salas, but we have Barbara from Keith and Schnars. Dr. Lamont Claude, Deputy Manager. Brittany Duria, representing Community Planning and Development. Carol Prager, President of Arch Creek East Neighborhood. And I also would like to give special thank you to Ms. Prager for her relentless protecting our preserve.
We also want to ask that Commissioner Heyman join us, and Nancy on behalf of the Urban Paradise Guild. Nancy, did you want to say something on the microphone?
Well, I have some potatoes.
Air potatoes.
Okay, so come to the microphone. I have some air potatoes in case people don't know what they are. Many of them have them
If
in
you
their
see
yards.
these around as you're jogging or
And,
walking, pick them up and throw them away. These are invasive air potatoes, and they'll spring vines that grow over everything and suffocate native plant life. So
It's what we try to remove every day.
I brought some handouts from the Urban Paradise Guild. I just wanted to say that Sam is here every Tuesday afternoon from 2 till 5. He's here to assist volunteers. This past week, he had one volunteer, and I was here to bring the ice. And he asked me if I could be here to represent the club. And that's why I've got this. He forgot that I'm old. I'm now in, not just elderly, but very old with the mind of the sieve. But I did make some things, and we do need volunteers. Sometimes he has as many as 5 or 6. But we need volunteers to help take out the air potatoes, the millet that somebody regularly sows for the birds, and it doesn't belong here, and the Burma reed, and all sorts of other projects, so we can start planting native things in here. But we've got to finish removing a bunch of stuff first. North Miami has agreed to cut down some of the trees that are possibly going to fall on the walkway, and they haven't done it yet, but he's marked them with yellow tape. But we need donations. We just got a truck that cost $3,600 on a used truck that's very nice, but he's only had $800 so far in donations, and half of that was from the volunteers. So please come out and volunteer. There's jobs for everybody, and I have handouts if you'd like to get one. We owe a lot of credit to Scott too for getting things together. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.